Okay, this is a really random video. I've never posted something like this in my entire life. But if I'm going to post something like this anywhere, it's going to be here. Creepy conversations, party of one, plus my subscribers. Okay, so how do I share something like this without sounding like I'm deranged, or have a mental disorder, take medication? I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter because it's my experience. I had the craziest dream last night, okay? And it brought up some crazy-ish for me. So, some backstory. It's gonna be a little creepy. Put some creepy music. Whatever. But I decided, I'm like, you know, whatever. I'm just going to share this because I got a message in this dream last night. It was so weird, just in case it happens. And also, I'm going to leave the comments on for this one. I'm just curious to know if anyone else has had similar dreams. Because dreams, it's a very fascinating topic, and visions and such. And yeah. So I had a dream last night of an entity. And it was the trippiest thing, because when I woke up, I remembered this entity. I remembered this dream. I remember whatever the hell I was dreaming about last night was a part of my life before. Okay, meaning. And all of a sudden, I remembered it again. There's this man in the dream that came to visit me. And he's a man. And he was wearing what looked like a military uniform, but it wasn't a military uniform. Because, I mean, for all I know, it wasn't green, it wasn't camo, it was all black. I mean, it could be, I don't know, because it could be from a different time period, because, you know, because like the boots, the pants were in the boots, like, you know, it wasn't like what I would see in 2022, but it looked kind of formal in some way, but I can't say it was a uniform, because he didn't look like he was wearing a uniform. I don't know, it could be. I don't know what it was. I'm just telling you what it looked like. Like, to me, in my perception, it looked like a military uniform, but it was all black. And he was wearing a wide-brimmed hat, all black wide-brimmed hat. And his face was kind of shadowy. And sometimes when he talked, if there was like a lot of emotion in his, I was about to say if he talked, there was no speech. What am I talking about? There was no speech. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I perceived it as talking because I felt like I was talking to him, but it was all telepathic. Sometimes if I felt through our communication that there was a lot of emotion in what he was trying to say to me, his eyes would glow. And you would think that I would be scared as sickles, but I wasn't. And it was the craziest dream last night because I was with this entity and he was communicating with me like he has known me his whole, like he is like basically my dad, you know? Like it wasn't like, what the, you know? Like I felt like that when I woke up, but in the experience, it was like I was shocked to see you again, but I wasn't like, oh my God, this is so creepy. Like usually you would think if you see some image, something with like freaking glowing eyeballs. I don't even know if they were eyeballs. It looked like eyes, but you know, in a shadowy face and all wearing all black and a hat. And it was just, it would never sit. It's just standing in front, not in the corner, in the front of my bed, like staring directly at me, never to the corner, never diagonally. That stood out to me. And it stood out to me in particular because when I woke up, and I'm going to tell you what the communication was in the dream yesterday. When I woke up, I was like dumbfounded because I started having like flashes of all the times that I've had interactions with the same entity as a child. that I didn't particularly keep in my consciousness on a regular basis, but I know for a fact existed. To the point, I even called my mom. I called my mom and I asked her, and she was like, oh yeah, no, that happened all the time. My mom always liked to minimize things. She had her own shit going on when I was young. So I was like, Mom, did this happen? She was like, oh yeah, all the time. We used to talk about that all the time, but we know you were a little bit like, you were just a kid. I'm like, okay. I don't know, because if my daughter talked about this with me every single night, and I knew that my grandma was a medium, like, the way that my mom explained it was that since I was young, I used to always like say I saw things and communicated with things but they never thought it was something out of this world because it ran in my family. So for them, it was just like a normal day. Like my father grew up like that. Like my father grew up with a medium. Like this was a part of his normal life. And according to my mom, my dad also likes to minimize things too, but apparently he sees a lot of things too. So even what I do today, I don't live in a household where everyone's shocked by it. For them, it's like, it's normal. And actually, for the first time in my life, my dad talks about it with a lot of pride because it reminds him of his mom. And he knows it's real because that's how he grew up. Anyway, so that's, just sharing that. So I remember when I was a young child, I'm talking young. I'm talking like since I was little until I moved out of New York City. And I left New York City when I was 9, 10. That's when I moved to New Jersey from New York City. I lived in Manhattan before then. Yes, 728 West, apartment 32. That was my spot. I'm just thinking as I share this story because it was so remarkable. I had one little room that was adjacent to my sister's room, and it would only happen there. And this entity did the same thing. That's what stood out. I started realizing, I'm like, Mom, I had these visions or these dreams with this entity. Literally, it was a part of like almost my daily experience when I was in New York City as a kid. Like it was normal. And it was the creepiest thing because after this dream last night, like I just started remembering this. Like it's like it was in my consciousness, but like I forgot. And I cannot confidently tell you, I don't think it was a dream because the memories, that, sometimes if you don't remember memories like really well, you tend to like piece things back together consciously, like the brain does that for it to make sense. But from what I remember, I was conscious while it happened. Like it would happen when I was semi-conscious, but conscious, like not like sleeping. And then I would wake up like, oh, I had this dream. It would happen like I was in my bed with my eyes open and the thing would come and like we would have some kind of telepathic communication. And then like sometimes I would get scared and go to my mom's, but most of the time I wasn't. For whatever reason, I was scared of everything, but I wasn't scared of that thing because it like telepathically gave me a message of like, we're cool. It was so, I sound like a nutcase, I'm telling you. But one thing that stood out after the dream last night was the same thing. This entity, whatever the hell it was, always wore the same outfit. It was the same outfit, all black with never took its hat off. It never took its hat off. It never used words, only telepathically communicated. It would never stand diagonal to me. It would never stand diagonal to me. It would only stand like in front of me. It had to be like a straight line. Like a straight line. Like if I was at the bed, it would have to be in front of the bed looking at me, like so that I could look at my eyes. And usually the face would be shadowy. But if it said something that had a lot of meaning or emotion behind it, it's what you would call eyes would glow a little bit. And I never knew who it was, where it came from, but I just had this, like, it felt like it wasn't human. I sound so crazy. I sound like a nutcase. Oh my God. But I'm like, I just have to share this because of the dream I had last night, what it said to me. And like, I want to just ask if anyone's had this dream. So thinking about it, going back. So now that I shared that aspect, when I moved to New Jersey, I stopped having visions and stuff with that entity. I did have sleep paralysis a lot, even as a little kid though. That never went away. There was just one time that I'm like traumatized from that freaking dream. This for sure I can say was not like I wasn't I wasn't aware, like I wasn't with my eyes open. Like this was when I was like in deep dream state. I remember this one time in New Jersey. I had a dream with an entity that looked just like this one that I was talking about, but for whatever reason, the energy did not feel the same. It felt like it was like the same entities, but it wasn't the same one. I remember this dream, and I remember specifically it was there and we were cool, we were fine. Same thing, never diagonal. And then I was looking at it and I'm like, why don't you ever take off your hat? I've been asking you to take off your hat for years and I never got to see why do you have a hat? Like, what are you? Like, why don't you take off your hat? And I'll never forget this dream. The eyes started glowing and brighter, like it was getting upset that I kept asking or something. But it wasn't like a feeling of anger, but it was upset. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Like, it was just like the energy was strong, but it wasn't like anger. I don't know how to explain. And then the dream was like something like, stop asking me that. I was like trying to tell me like, stop asking me that. And it communicated with me like, if I take off this hat, I can't take off the hat. And I think what it was saying was like, if I take off this hat, like it was like the eyes were glowing, like kind of telling me like, I can't take off the hat, like for a reason that'll benefit you. And then finally it got pissed off or something. I'm going to use the word pissed off. I don't know. And then it was like, fine, I'll show you why. And it took off, even though I didn't use that language. It was like silent. It took off the hat. I'll never forget this. And when it took off the freaking hat with the brim, it didn't have a head. It was like light bulbs. Swear to God, I know this sounds so creepy. This might just be science fiction. If you think I'm nuts, whatever. People like to share dreams all the time. Take it as it resonates, whatever. I just have to share this, okay? It took off the brimmed hat, and it didn't have like a head or skull or anything. It was like light bulbs. It looked as if you put like a hat on with 20 light bulbs on top of it, and then the light bulbs would just go bzzz and like turn on and like glow and then turn off and then glow and then turn off and glow. It's what I would think it was, light bulbs or like LED lights, but it looked like light bulbs because it looked like bulbs, but not particularly like a light bulb, but it was like, it looked like light bulbs, like rods or some shit. I don't know. But because it took it off, it started going zzz, like without control, like almost like as if the hat contained its energy or something. And then it turned me around and it took his hands and put it on my back like really hard. It was like going like that to me. And every time it did that, I was like, stop, because it was hurting and it was electrocuting me. And I think that was its way of saying, well, now you know I don't take off my hat. And then I woke up. I kid you not. Ask my mom. I wish she was here to testify for me because I sound nuts. It was like 3 a.m. I was like 12. I was 12. I believe so. I was in the 6th grade. Never forget it. Went into the bathroom, looked at my back because it hurt. And in a spot in my back where I cannot reach on my own, there was a mark that looked like a hand. And it was red as if it was burned or something. No one knows where the fuck that came from. My mom saw it. Never had that dream again. Never had any interaction or dream or vision with this entity again. That I'm conscious of, okay? Because I had a dream last night with the same mother effing entity in a way that was like, I never left kind of thing. You just don't remember. It was so creepy. Oh my God. But last night, again, same thing. It didn't take off the hat this time. It's like I knew not to even ask. And it stood right in front of me and it was like, listen, without language, basically telling me, I'm here to let you know that something's going to change. We're going to take off our hats. That's what I interpret it. Because I saw like an image of like the light bulbs shining. And they basically said, and we're going to control the weather with this. Or something's going to happen. Some kind of natural disaster is going to happen. And you're connected with us. I don't know what that makes sense. It says that you're connected to us. So if we all take off these hats, since you're connected to us, you're going to get electrocuted when we do that. So stay where you are. I kid you not, I have not been able to be normal the whole day. Because I woke up and I was like, it was like flash. I'm like, zzz. Now I started having thoughts of all the dreams I had when I was in visions and like visitations I had when I was young. And then that dream when I was 12. And then like the fact that it touched me and it like electrocuted my back, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So basically it said last night that there's gonna be some kind of like big earthquake or earthquakes happening around where I used to live or around the world. And something's gonna happen. Or it might not even be around the world. It just, wherever it is, somehow, some way, the energy was going to affect me somehow. And it was like, basically, it just said, stay where you are, because we're going to cause some kind of chaos, some kind of, there's going to be some kind of an earthquake, and it'll affect you. So stay where you are. And then I woke up. Listen, that was 1544 on my device right there. 44 is my angel number. That means I'm protected. Thank God. I don't know. I promise to you that I'm not deranged. I'm just a medium. I'm just a woman. I'm chilling. I had to share this dream. It was so creepy. So creepy. So I don't know if this is a prediction that we're going to get earthquakes in the next week or some kind of natural disasters happening. If it does, I'm just going to upload this and so we can document it. And I'm also just curious if any of you have had dreams. Someone tell me if you've had dreams with these men with the hats. Someone tell me if you had any kind of dream with the light bulbs, because that is the craziest thing. I Googled that if anyone, like I Googled, and a lot of people say they've had dreams with like men with black hats, but I haven't seen anything about the light bulb and that electricity coming out of the brain. You know? That happened when I was 12. But the fact that I had this dream last night and I just all of a sudden, all of those memories came back to my mind. I was just like mind blown by that. Anyway, not to be a creepy, I am creepy. Well, this is my channel, so I'm able, that's the good thing about having your own channel. You could be as weird as you want. You could be as open as you want. You can do whatever you want. It's like, so I'm doing what I want. All right? Let me know. Love and light. I had to put that out there. I mean, that was, I'm like so it was so weird because I'm telling you, every time I have one of these dreams, and I remember it happening when I was young too, like I felt like it was like a force that like didn't leave you for a little bit. I don't know, man. Love and light.